Hey everybody, this is Dan from Learning to Smoke coming at you from my backyard here on a cold day. But anyway, today we are doing pulled pork, but we're mixing it up and doing hot and fast. So that means instead of taking about 10 hours, 11 hours or so to cook your pulled pork, we're gonna do that there in about 6. You get great results with a lot less time. I'll show you how to do it. It's quick and simple. Follow along. Here I have a 7-pound bone-in pork butt, also known as Boston butt, pork shoulder, things like that. You can see the blade right there in the bone, or the bone blade right there. So anyway, you can get these boneless if you want, but this is bone-in, so that's what I went with. So now, a pretty simple process here to put this together. All you do is put some mustard on, use it as a bind. Don't really taste a whole lot of mustard flavor in this, to be honest with you, when I cook it. But anyway, makes for a good bind, and if there's a little flavor that imparts to it, great. So I'm just gonna rub it on all these sides. It's a little trick here. So instead of applying mustard all over this thing, what we're gonna do first is apply it on all these sides, and then apply the rub on these sides. If I can open this container with one hand. That's a lot. Hold on. You know what? We're gonna go with this side right here. Gonna use some pork rub from Christy Vanover over at Girls Can Grill. She's got something going on here with Spiceology. So anyway, as I was saying, instead of putting mustard over all of this thing, I'm going to put mustard over all these sides here, apply the rub this way, and then I'll do the mustard and the rub on the one side that's on the bottom right now. I'll do that later, so that way I don't have to keep flipping this thing over. Just try to make convenient use of my time here. But yeah, make sure you get the rub on all the sides too. Whoa, got a lot right there, but that's okay. Got a little excess on there, but we're gonna be good because I will show you a little tip here later. I'm gonna flip this over. Now I'm gonna put some spicy brown mustard on this side. Make sure to cover it all. It looks like I missed a little bit when I was doing all the other sides. So I missed a little bit on some of the sides there, so I'm covering that. Now, I'll pour some pork here, pork rub that is. More on top. I like to go moderate to generous as far as pork goes. Usually with beef I go very light, but anyway, with pork butts, especially when you're cooking for a long time, I like to put more seasoning on there. So I talked about it's a little trick I can show you here later with all this excess rub. If I find sides that I missed, maybe a little bit right there, I'll just go ahead and take the meat and just apply it on there, especially on the front here. As you can see, it looks like I've missed some, so I'm just gonna do that, just dab it on there. A lot better. That way I don't have to use excess rub. Now we put it all on the grill. It's just that simple. Earlier I said I was going to use a meat probe and also ambient temp probe to measure this. That pork butt's looking really good, by the way. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and use this from ThermalWorks. It's the ThermalWorks Smoke X. This is the Smoke X4. I think a Smoke X2 and a Smoke X4, but this one is the 4 because it has 4 different channels you can use. So first off, I'm going to probe this meat. I'm actually going to look for the thickest part away from the bone and get to the center. Angle it in like that. Another thing you could do is actually just poke it in from the side as well, which, you know, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to improvise. Poke in from the side like that. Okay, into the center. Thickest part of the center right there. And now I'm going to take the ambient temp and clip that ambient temp probe that is, and clip that right there. 325 is the temperature I'm aiming for here. And we'll keep an eye on that for a while. Been on the grill for about a couple hours now, and they're hitting it about 340 or so. I'm gonna spritz it with a 50-50 mix of apple juice and apple cider vinegar. I do that, it helps with the flavor, it also helps keep it wet from drying out. Internal temp of this pork, we're looking at 132 degrees right now. When it hits about 160-ish, that's when I'm gonna pull it off, and I'm gonna wrap it in foil, and we'll get to the next step. We are now at 166 degrees here with that meat. So now it's gonna be time to take this off. And we're gonna move it over to this pan. Let me give you a different angle here. It's winter time. It's late January, so that's why grass is dead in the back and it looks cold and sad out here. I'm gonna use this heavy-duty spatula to pick this up. I'm gonna put it right in this pan. This pan is it's a 9x11 foil pan. And let me close this to retain the heat. You know what I should have done before this? Here, I'm gonna back this up. Just pretend we're gonna rewind. Here, I could always edit this out in the video, but I'm just gonna show you what's happening in real life here, y'all. So we'll put that back on just for a little bit. But here's what I like to do. In the foil pan, I like to mix orange juice and teriyaki sauce. So I like to do about a tablespoon of teriyaki and a fourth cup of orange juice. Basically what I'm looking for is just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So I'm on a slant here. Can't really tell with that, but I'll put some teriyaki sauce here, like I say, about a tablespoon. And then we're gonna mix this together. So as you can see, when it sits level, it's covering the bottom of the pan, just barely there. But that's as much as I want. So now, let's go back to taking this off with my heavy-duty spatula I got. Mix that just a little bit. And I have heavy-duty foil. I'm just gonna do a wrap over it. Well, actually, tell you what, before I do that, I'm going to poke this in. When I say poke this in, I mean the meat probe here. Gonna poke that into the side. Let's give it right there. How's that? That looks good to me. I'm gonna wrap this over. When I say this, I mean the aluminum foil. It's a little windy out today, a little cold out today as well. So that's always a fun time. You wanna get a tight wrap over this. The tighter you wrap it, the hotter it's gonna cook. So this thing, it's been just over 3 hours and it's got a lot of smoke flavor. Pretty much all it's gonna get right now. And now we just put this back on. See how plain and simple this is so far? It still is, don't worry. So 167, we're gonna close this back down, keep the temperature at about 325, and we'll come back to this when we hit, I've got it set for a temp of 203 degrees. So we'll come back to it when we hit that temp. It's been about 6 hours exactly, and we are at 202.2 degrees. I've got my alarm set for 203, but as you can see, my temperature is down. It's not 325, but I've had this in for 6 hours, and the coals at a high heat for that long, they're starting to die down. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull this off, because it's right where well, it's pretty close to where I want it to be. I will get my high temp gloves on, open this up, take a look there. I'll pull this probe out, and I'll move it over here, off camera. Now, back on camera to my cutting board, and I'll just bring that in. I'm gonna let it rest, covered, for about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. Actually, you know what? I'll let it rest uncovered for about that long, and then I'll start shredding, because it's gonna be pretty hot. Here we go. So So all that steam heat coming out there. Look at that. That's pretty. Here we are, the pork butt's been rested. Now is the time for my favorite part. After 6+ hours of prepping and cooking and resting, now it's time to shred it. It only takes about, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to shred it, but it is so worth all the time I put in. I like to shred it with my bare hands. Some people like to use those claws you can get, which is great, but I like the satisfaction of doing it with my hands. So what I like to do is take a cheap pair of worker gloves. You can just get it like Home Depot or Lowe's. And I'll put those on first. And then I take my nitrile gloves and I put them on. So this right here acts as a layer to help me insulate my hands, because even though it's been resting for, gosh, I think I've had it resting for about an hour now, it's going to be very hot to the hands. Okay, one way to tell that this is done is you get a clean bone pull. So you pull this right out like this. See that? Came out quickly, easily. I'm gonna set that aside. Now, here we go. When you cook it to like 200 plus, you know that it's gonna shred so easily. I mean, it's like butter. It's awesome. So you get this one part of the pork right there that tends to be a little tough right there, but other than that, everything else just smooth sailing. Look at this. I'm telling you, you decimate it just quickly. Shreds up, and it's so good. Still got those juices from the meat in the bottom of the pan, as well as that orange juice and teriyaki sauce mixture I've got going on. It's gonna be totes amazeballs here. Anyway, look at that. Look at that. So, what do you guys think? Is that tender and juicy enough for you? You like that? Well, now I gotta put the camera on me and take a bite. All right, here it is, guys. The moment of truth. Got the pan right there. Got my pulled pork right there. Don't stop dropping it. It's so good. It's very tender. I love it. Anyway, it has that good flavor, of course, because it's got the juices, the seasoning on there, as well as what I do with the orange juice and the teriyaki sauce mixed together. So great combination of flavors all around. I love it. It's a great time saver. I mean, especially you wake up in the morning, you're like, hey, I want pulled pork, but I don't want to wait all day. Like, I put this on at about 10:30 and it was done at 4:30. So just in time for dinner, especially after it rests. So anyway, I highly recommend giving it a shot. If you like this video, please go ahead and like it and make a comment and let me know your thoughts. But also don't forget to subscribe to my channel too. Thanks a lot for watching, y'all. Take care.